Hey, Charlie, good morning.
Good morning. How's everyone doing up there?
How you doing? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was hectic. My kid's the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss, so I flew into Oxford to go spend some time with my son, daughter-in-law, and grandson, and that was good. But I had to get back for Sunday to watch all the games, so I could talk about it on the radio on Monday.
You ever step in and take over for your son if necessary?
No, I stay out of it. I just play dad and granddad. That's it. I only answer questions when I'm asked.
So, Wiggy, share with Charlie your lead this morning at 6:30 or thereabouts when we do the leads.
Yeah, I was saying that, I think you should give Matt Patricia a lot of credit for the game plan he called against the Minnesota Vikings. But unfortunately, we don't hear that here. We just hear about, how he hasn't done a great job of calling plays this season. But talk about how difficult getting a rhythm and getting a vibe of being a first-time play caller is.
Well, people think play calling, anyone's watching TV with a six-pack and a bag of chips thinks they can call plays. They think they can call them better than you, and they don't understand all the work, time, and effort that goes in just for a call sheet. And then to be able to take that call sheet and apply it to the game is a very tough task. And it takes some getting used to. It really does. It takes some getting used to. And you can practice it all you want, but the only way you get good at it is when you start doing it. Now, fortunately, he's called defenses, often in his career, so he's had to be able to communicate. But it wasn't until not too distant past when they started having verbal communication going on between the defensive coaches and the defensive players. So it's a tough task, and I've watched as the years going on. I'm never overly critical of coaches anyway, other than when they make use analytics inappropriately or when they call timeouts inappropriately. But I've watched, and I think there's been a pretty good ebb and flow when I've watched the Patriots games.
Charlie, but you saying that it's this very difficult science that we all think we can do, but it requires a lot of time and energy. Wouldn't it behoove the Patriots to have an offensive coordinator that's done it before?
Oh, well, that's the $1 million question. It was going to be asked no matter what. But no matter who you brought in there, it was going to be new. It was going to be different. It was not going to be the same unless you took one of the guys that was on the offensive staff and made him the coordinator. But even then, it's a new guy doing it for the first time, and there was going to be transition. No matter who did it, there was going to be transition. Let's use, for example, let's say they asked me to come in there and do it. There's been a lot of time since I was in New England, and although I'm sure maybe 75% of the terminology would be the same, from when I left there, there's still that 25% that you're transitioning yourself, and then just the new stuff that you put in on top of it. So no matter who was going to come in after Josh, there was going to be a transition, and that's what I think you've gone through the year. And you watched the game the other day against Minnesota. No one was complaining about the play calling then, were they?
Mm-mm. What? I mean, use the example of Bill O'Brien. Like in your opinion, if Bill O'Brien were in that spot, would the record of this football team be different right now?
Well, I don't know. You're asking me a question I don't know the answer to. If you're asking me if you took a polished offensive coordinator that knows the system, could there be a slight difference? Yeah, there probably would be a slight difference. Okay, but that's easier said than done. Bill O'Brien, the last time I checked, is the offensive coordinator with Alabama. Yeah. And he has a job, and that's where he is. I think that, as you've gone through the year, and remember, we got a lot of football left here yet. as you're going through the year. I think that the communication has never seemed to be a problem. The timing hasn't seemed to be a problem. I mean, and play calls always get second guessed. Look, when I left New England in 2000 and after the 2004 season, fortunately for me and for us, we won that Super Bowl, and I walk into New England and people treat me well. Okay, but I promise you, and you know exactly what I'm going to say. If we would have lost that game or got knocked out of it, it would not be the same. So I think you got to give some time and not overreach here on exactly where we are.
Charlie, I know you've said that Mac Jones has a high ceiling in your mind. What we saw out of him on Thursday, is that the real Mac Jones that we should expect to see moving forward?
Yeah, I just don't think, he played a great game. You can't play great every week, but that's what I expect from him. That's what I do expect from him. That's my anticipation of what Mac Jones can be. I watched him in Alabama, and I'm telling you, I mean, this was on a regular basis. It just picking people apart, knowing where to go with the ball, leading the team, efficient, accurate, all those things. Now, have we seen that in every game this year? No, but I think that's the guy. That's the guy he could be, and if he is that guy, then you hit the jackpot.
Charlie, when you talk about players, people always say, well, the game slows down the more that they play. Can you kind of take us into the mind of the offensive coordinator? What was the difference between you calling plays your first time at it and then as you started to progress into the season and then, several years of being a play caller? How does it change? Does it slow down? Is it more of a comfort level? What's the things that are differently that maybe we can expect from Matt Patricia moving forward the more he's starting to do it?
Well, there's two things. So I'll give you the two of them. First of all is how fast you're already ready for the next play. And I'm not talking about the plays that are on the opening script when you run down 15 to 20 plays. When you first get in there, you have your list of plays. And once you get off the list of plays, you're preparing, well, what are we going to call next based off of what they're doing? Okay, when you first start calling plays, you're thinking one play at a time. When you're a veteran, you're thinking multiple plays at a time. So if it's a 1st and 10 play, okay, and I've called the play, I've given it to Tommy. He's in a huddle. He's calling the play. Before you even get to the line of scrimmage, I've already gone over what are the two likely scenarios that could happen on this play. Either this could happen or that could happen. And if either one of those happens, I have the next call made, and the next call might be two different calls based off of what happens on that play. See, a veteran guy thinks like that. So anytime you're watching a game and you see a guy looking down the sheet reaching for a play, then there's a problem, because you should already have in your head, okay, here are the most likely results, and here's what's going to happen. When you first start calling them, it doesn't work like that. You're just going play to play. That's one thing. Okay, now that between being an initial play caller and a veteran play caller, the other thing is in-game adjustments. Wiggy, everyone always talks about halftime adjustments. How much adjustments go on at halftime? Tell them.
Very few, just a couple.
Very little. I mean, that is the most overrated comment of all time. Maybe in the Super Bowl when it's a 20-minute halftime, when you have extra time to actually do stuff like that. But the adjustments go on series to series. Good staffs don't wait till halftime to make adjustments. There was one game we were playing up in New England against the Giants. And 9 plays into the game, we threw out the game plan. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Well, that's not working. Well, fellas, we're off the script. And we started calling 2-minute plays, and we ended up winning the game. But, you have to have the guts to say, all my time and effort went for naught because they're kicking the crap out of everything we're doing. Let's figure out something else to do, so we don't end up having one of those days where we say, well, why didn't I do something earlier in the game?
So is it your guess, Charlie, that Matt Patricia remains here next year in the same role?
Until I see otherwise, I'd say I don't think that they're looking to replace him. Now, if you're asking me if somebody came, well, Josh isn't going to get let go, and that's not happening. And Dable, he looks like he's doing okay down there with the Giants. But let's say Billy O'Brien. Let's say Billy O'Brien wanted to leave Alabama and go back to the NFL, and let's say the head coaching jobs came along and he couldn't get one, and he called up Bill and said, "Hey, I really like to come back." Would Bill take him back? Probably. But Bill's always been, the first things first. Try to hire from within. That's the mentality. He develops his guys to have that mentality. That's the way he is. But he might be the only guy that could fit that description. But other than that, I don't think there'll be a change.
Charlie, years ago in Atlanta, we spoke with you, and you made a comment that we were asking how many more years is Bill going to do this, and that was the 2018 season. And you said he's going to do this as long as he can because he gets to work every day with his kids, and it's this, something that you said you would have traded for and all that. Mike Florio recently said that Bill Belichick's in a quandary because he can't hold any coaches accountable because he's not going to fire one of his kids. Do you think that's a fair critique of Bill Belichick?
I'm confused with the question. He said what? He said what?
He said that
what did he say?
He said that Mike Florio said on this show that Bill Belichick is in a quandary because he can't say, "Patricia, you suck, you're fired," because he's not going to do that with either of his sons on the defensive coaching staff.
He would fire his sons. He would. He would fire them too.
What a savage.
So the answer to that is that's wrong because he would, if he felt that somebody wasn't, doing what was best for the team. I mean, he would. It wouldn't make a difference who it was. So would he hold the coaches accountable? You bet you. But those guys named Belichick, they're in that accountability group too. Just so you know.
Would he do it himself, or would he have Matt Patricia do it?
Oh, no. He has no problem doing it himself. Trust me. Trust me. I mean, there were plenty of times he wanted to get rid of me because I got on his nerves all the time. But, hey, let me tell you something. The guy's the greatest of all time for a reason now. And he has it. This is how we run this thing. This is what my expectations, and if you don't run it my way or you don't meet our expectations, then we got to find somebody who can.
Charlie, we are unfortunately up against the clock, and unlike Jeff Saturday, I try to pay attention to it. So I appreciate you taking the time as always.
No problem. I got my own radio show in 20 minutes. You guys can get off and go listen to me then.
Yeah, how do we listen to that?
Sirius XM NFL Radio, Channel 88.
Oh, wow. All right.
10 to noon every day. Me and Bob Papa, the voice of the New York Giants.
Serious, that's the big bucks.
Yeah. Get Papa to get Florio on. I'd love to have him go back and forth with you guys.
All right. Hey, miss everyone up there. Have a good day.